There's something unsettling about waking up and realizing you're living the same day over and over again. Not literally, like some cosmic joke from a movie, but emotionally, mentally. The same arguments with the same people, the same disappointments wearing different masks, the same patterns playing out like a song stuck on repeat that you can't seem to turn off. You promise yourself things will be different this time. You make plans, set boundaries, choose better. Yet somehow, 3 months later, you are staring at the same mess, just with new faces and different locations. Different job, same toxic boss. New relationship, same exhausting drama. Fresh start, familiar ending. If you're here right now, something deeper than coincidence brought you to this moment. You're tired of the loop. You're exhausted from watching your life unfold like a script you never wrote, but somehow keep performing. You've started to wonder if you're cursed, if you're broken, if there's something fundamentally wrong with the way you move through the world. Here's what nobody tells you about reality. It's not happening to you, it's happening through you. And the version of reality you keep experiencing isn't random. It's not bad luck or poor timing or the universe conspiring against you. It's a reflection of something much deeper, something most people spend their entire lives never recognizing. The truth is, you're not repeating the same reality by accident. You're creating it, not consciously, not deliberately, but through invisible patterns that run so deep they feel like breathing. These patterns operate below your awareness, shaping every choice you make, every person you attract, every situation you find yourself in. Carl Jung understood something that modern psychology is still trying to catch up with. He realized that what we call reality is actually a projection of our internal world. Every person who triggers you, every situation that drains you, every problem that keeps showing up, they're all mirrors reflecting back the unhealed parts of your psyche. But here's where it gets interesting. Most people think the solution is to change their external circumstances, new city, new job, new partner, new friend group. They're always trying to rearrange the furniture in a house that's built on the same foundation. They're changing the actors, but keeping the same script. The pattern doesn't break because you moved. It breaks when you understand why you keep writing the same story. When you recognize that the common denominator in every repeated reality isn't your location or your luck. It's you. Not the you that you show the world, but the you that exists in the shadows of your consciousness. This isn't about self-blame. This isn't about beating yourself up for somehow creating your own problems. This is about power, real power, the kind that most people never access because they're too busy fighting symptoms instead of addressing causes. Think about the last time you found yourself in a familiar situation that you swore you'd never repeat. Maybe it was trusting someone who showed you red flags from day one. Maybe it was saying yes when every cell in your body was screaming no. Maybe it was falling back into old habits that you'd promised yourself you'd outgrown. In that moment, right before you made the choice that led you back into the pattern, something inside you knew. There was a voice, quiet but persistent, that whispered warnings you chose to ignore. There was an instinct that tried to guide you towards something different, but you overrode it with logic, with hope, with a desperate need to believe that this time would be different. That voice you ignored, that instinct you dismissed, that's your unconscious trying to break the pattern. But it can't break what you won't acknowledge exists. It can't heal what you refuse to see. And it can't create new realities from the same unconscious material that built the old ones. Here's what Jung discovered that changes everything. The external world will keep delivering the same experiences until the internal world transforms. Reality isn't fixed. It's responsive. It's constantly reshaping itself around the frequency you're broadcasting, the beliefs you're holding, the wounds you're carrying. Most people live their entire lives never realizing they have a choice in what reality they experience. They think they're passive observers of circumstances beyond their control. They believe they're victims of bad timing, difficult people, or unfortunate situations. But victims don't break patterns. Victims repeat them endlessly, each time hoping for different results, while doing nothing different internally. The people who escape the loop, who break free from repetitive realities, they've learned something profound. They've discovered that changing your external world without changing your internal world is like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. The ship is still sinking. But when you transform your relationship with your own unconscious patterns, when you integrate the parts of yourself you've been rejecting, When you heal the wounds that keep attracting the same painful experiences, reality doesn't just shift, it transforms completely. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't manifesting or visualization or any surface level technique. This is deep psychological work. This is about facing the parts of yourself that you've been running from, the aspects of your personality that you've been denying, the needs and fears and desires that operate in the background of your consciousness. Jung called this shadow work, not because it's dark or negative, but because it deals with the parts of yourself that remain hidden from your conscious awareness. These shadow aspects don't disappear when you ignore them. They don't heal when you pretend they don't exist. Instead, they run your life from behind the scenes, creating the same patterns, attracting the same people, generating the same problems. The reason you keep repeating the same reality is because you're unconsciously loyal to it. Some part of you, some wounded or frightened part, believes this reality is safe. It's familiar. It's what you know how to navigate, even if it's painful, even if it's limiting, even if it keeps you small. It's predictable. Breaking the pattern requires something most people aren't willing to do. It requires you to become conscious of your unconscious loyalties, to understand why part of you chooses dysfunction over growth, familiar pain over unknown joy, the devil you know over the angel you don't. But here's what makes this journey worth taking. On the other side of pattern recognition lies pattern transformation. Once you see how you've been unconsciously creating your reality, you can start consciously crafting it. Once you understand the invisible forces that have been shaping your experience, you can redirect that creative power towards something that actually serves you. The reality you keep repeating isn't your destiny. It's your starting point. The transformation begins the moment you stop asking why this keeps happening to you and start asking how you keep creating it. That shift in questioning changes everything. It moves you from victim consciousness to creator consciousness, from powerless observer to active participant in your own reality. But let's be honest about what this actually looks like. It's not comfortable, it's not easy, and it's definitely not quick. Breaking patterns that have been running your life for years, maybe decades, requires you to sit with some uncomfortable truths about yourself. You'll need to admit that maybe you do have a type, and maybe that type isn't as random as you thought. You'll need to acknowledge that the chaos you complain about might be serving some hidden need for drama, for distraction, for avoiding the deeper work of actually living. You'll need to recognize that the people who drain you aren't just unlucky encounters. They're responding to something you're unconsciously advertising, some unhealed wound that sends out signals saying, I'm available for this kind of treatment. I expect this kind of experience. I'm familiar with this kind of pain. This is where most people stop, because recognizing your role in creating your repeated reality feels like self-blame. It feels like admitting you're broken or damaged, or somehow choosing to suffer. But that's not what this is about. This is about reclaiming your power from the unconscious patterns that have been running the show. This is about understanding that if you've been unconsciously creating realities you don't want, you can learn to consciously create realities you do want. The process starts with radical honesty, not the kind of honesty you practice with others, but the brutal, uncomfortable honesty you practice with yourself. You need to look at your patterns without judgment, without excuse, without the stories you tell yourself about why things are the way they are. What type of person do you consistently attract? What type of situation do you consistently find yourself in? What type of outcome do you consistently experience? And more importantly, what part of you believes this is what you deserve, what you can handle, what you're worth? These aren't easy questions, but they're the questions that lead to freedom. Because once you see the pattern clearly, once you understand the unconscious programming that's been creating it, you can start to reprogram it. This reprogramming happens on multiple levels. First, you need to identify the core beliefs that have been driving your choices. Beliefs like, I'm not worthy of real love. I can't trust my own judgment. Good things don't last. People always leave. I have to prove my value. These beliefs live so deep in your psyche that they feel like facts about reality rather than stories you've been telling yourself. But they're not facts. They're programs. And programs can be rewritten. Next, you need to heal the emotional wounds that keep these beliefs alive. The childhood hurts that convinced you the world wasn't safe. The betrayals that taught you not to trust. The disappointments that showed you not to hope for too much. These wounds don't heal through thinking about them or understanding them intellectually. They heal through feeling them fully, grieving what was lost, and choosing to parent the wounded parts of yourself with the love and protection they needed but didn't receive. Finally, you need to practice new patterns. This is where most people get tripped up. They do the awareness work, they understand their patterns, they even do some healing. But then they go back into the world and make the same choices because the new patterns feel foreign, uncomfortable, wrong. New patterns feel wrong because they're unfamiliar. Your nervous system has been calibrated to the old reality. It knows how to navigate dysfunction, how to survive chaos, how to manage familiar pain. But it doesn't know how to handle genuine peace, authentic love, or sustained joy. So when healthier options appear, when kinder people show interest, when better opportunities arise, some part of you will want to run. We'll find reasons why it won't work. We'll sabotage what you've been saying you want because getting it feels more terrifying than not having it. This is the final test. This is where you prove to yourself that you're serious about breaking the pattern. When the old reality starts calling you back, when familiar chaos starts looking comfortable compared to unfamiliar peace, when you feel the pull to return to what you know, even though you know it hurts. That's the moment of choice. That's when you decide whether you're committed to transformation or just interested in it. Whether you're willing to feel uncomfortable in a new reality long enough for it to become familiar. Whether you trust the process of growth more than you trust the patterns of the past. The people who successfully break free from repetitive realities understand something crucial. The discomfort of growth is temporary. The pain of staying stuck is permanent. The unfamiliarity of a new pattern lasts months. The suffering of an old pattern lasts a lifetime. Your reality isn't happening to you. It's happening through you. And that means you have more power than you've ever imagined to shape what happens next. The same unconscious creative force that's been generating your repeated experiences can be consciously directed toward experiences that actually nourish you. But it requires you to stop being loyal to your limitations, to stop defending your wounds, to stop making excuses for why change isn't possible. It requires you to become more committed to your growth than you are attached to your story. The pattern breaks when you break your unconscious agreement with it, when you stop showing up as the person who experiences that reality and start embodying the person who experiences something different. You keep repeating the same reality because some part of you still believes is the only reality available to you. But that's never been true. There have always been infinite realities waiting for you to step into them. You just had to become someone who could recognize them, someone who could receive them, someone who could sustain them. The moment you truly understand that your reality is your creation, everything changes. Not because the world suddenly becomes different, but because you become different. And when you change, the world has no choice but to reflect that change back to you. That's not philosophy. That's not wishful thinking. That's the fundamental law of consciousness. Reality is responsive. It's always been waiting for you to wake up to your own creative power. The only question left is whether you're ready to use it.